So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about something today that I have not talked about since CES. It's my first time getting hands-on with it. A little bit late to the party, but that's how I kind of like to do things sometimes. I'm of course talking about RTX-based laptops. And obviously we were fortunate enough to have Origin PC send me one, and it even has my name on it. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of things with this laptop today, because like I said, this is my first time getting hands-on with it. I saw it at CES, and by it, I mean like 16 different models of RTX-based laptops from a lot of different companies. Origin PC was obviously one that was there. We also took a look at their booth, and they had this on showcase as well. But we're gonna kind of talk about some of the physical aspects. We're doing some performance testing, temperatures, acoustics, all that sort of stuff. So obviously this is not the way they ship, because I don't think they'd sell many if they sold them with my name on it. But this is part of like one of 4 or 5 different ways you can customize it. So what we're looking at right here is the Evo 16-S. And the reason why they call it the Evo 16 is because it's a 16.1 inch screen on a 14.9 inch body. Kind of like me, a big head. Well, I got a big body too, but whatever. That's besides the point, I digress. So this is their UV printing right here. So you can do UV printing with custom designs and logos, as they did right here. They put my name on it and then sort of spice it up a little bit, because I don't really have a very attractive logo, so they added this triangle and stuff. You can also get laser etching, you can get hydro dipping, you can get, metallic paint, that's it. They're really known for their really nice glittery metallic paint on a lot of their cases. So you can get it custom. Of course, there's an extra fee for that, but this is the UV printing, which is kind of nice. So this is not a wrap, it's not gonna peel off. This is a very well bonded UV printing that is done on here. So this is a 16.1 inch IPS 1080p 144 hertz monitor, or panel I should say, it's not really a monitor. So that obviously makes this very geared towards professional workflows as well as gaming, because the IPS is going to give you that color accuracy, but obviously the fluid motion of 144 hertz is going to give you super silky smooth game frame rates. But the cool thing is the fact that it's a 14.9 inch laptop with a 16.1 inch screen. It measures 0.78 inches thick at its thickest point, so it's not even an inch tall, and it's only 4.5 pounds. So it's extremely portable. It feels very solid in the hands. It's not like creaky. I mean, flex-wise, a little bit of twist in there, but not a lot. I mean, I don't think it's anything that's abnormal. So for connections, it's got a full-size USB 3.0. We've got 2 USB 3.1Cs, a mini display port, HDMI, power cable. On the other side here, we've got obviously a headphone and microphone jack, another USB 3.0 super speed, a card reader, and a LAN jack right there, and of course a Kensington lock. They've actually got this little plug in here so that dirt and debris doesn't get in there when you're not using the SD card. So that's kind of nice. One of the things I like to check with laptops, and call me an Apple fan, I'm not really, but one of the things I loved about MacBooks when I used MacBooks was the hinge was always perfect in terms of being able to lift the lid but not tilt the whole computer back, but then having it be able to rest in any position you put it without sagging or drooping. And that's exactly what they've done right here. So the Evo 16S, you can see it'll stay in any position you put it in without sagging, but I can open and close it with it on the table without it folding back. If you think about how perfect the tension has to be to achieve that, that's actually pretty impressive. I'm sure we've all tried to open a laptop lid that folds the whole computer back, or you have to put your hand there and open it up, or you kind of set it where you want it and then it just sort of like sags a little bit. Hasn't been a problem with laptops in a while, but that's something I have experienced in the past with dealing with like cheap working, lapbooks or laptops. Well, I said lapbook because I was thinking it was an HP ProBook. It's the one I'm specifically thinking of. And that's the one I had for work, and it sucked. That it was heavy, had a huge bezel, speakers were in the top piece, so it just was heavy and it would kind of droop back on me. Or if I picked up the laptop to move it like this, as soon as I picked it up, the screen would just against the hinge, and eventually the hinge ended up breaking. So I don't see that being something that would happen with this, because I did kind of screw around with this a little bit, and I was kind of flailing it around, and as you can see, it will move a little bit, but you've really got to sort of force it to do that. But if you're just moving it around like on your desk and stuff, as you can see, this is scaring me even, trust me guys, it's not going to fall. So there is that. But I mean, in terms of the compact format of it, being a 16.1 inch IPS 144 hertz display and only coming in at 4.5 pounds and 0.78 inches high, just over 3/4 of an inch, it definitely gives the award, in my opinion, in terms of like kind of cramming a lot of stuff into a small package. Now obviously, because there's a lot of hardware in here, it's an Intel i7-8750H, which is a 6-core, 12-thread processor. But this also has an NVIDIA 2080 Max-Q, so it's the biggest laptop GPU that they make, which can generate some heat. And although it falls under the Max-Q specifications, which determines how loud it can be, what this power draw and all that stuff is gonna be, it can still generate a pretty decent amount of heat, with those tensor cores and all that sort of stuff. So ventilation is obviously a big forethought on this design. So we have some, these are actually speakers right here that downfire in the front. We'll talk about those. We've got lots of ventilation intake on the bottom. We've got some exhaust on the back. And what I like about the exhaust facing away from you is when, there are some on the sides, but I believe these are intakes, is when exhaust kind of comes out the side and out the back, it tends to sort of still heat up the chassis and kind of get warm around your hands. The other thing we're going to be checking is whether or not heat is going to be escaping through the keyboard, because that can be uncomfortable too, especially in gaming sessions. If you're not using a mouse and a keyboard, is heat will start to build up on the hot spots where the components are. And if that heat starts coming through the keyboard, then it can get very uncomfortable, especially where your palm rest is. So we'll be looking at that sort of stuff too. We're testing 2 different titles here for the RTX features on the laptop to see how it performs in a mobile format. Battlefield 5, because it uses ray tracing for reflections, and then Metro Exodus, which uses ray tracing for global illumination. So 2 different types of technologies that are being used with the RT cores. So obviously DLSS is on this as well, which is a feature we want to take advantage of. That way those tensor cores are doing something and not just sitting there. But as you can see right here with the 2080, and I need to turn some of the music down here, it's not quiet by any means, but I think you're asking a lot for silence and a 2080 Max-Q and a 6-core, 12-thread, 8750 CPU. So if you're worried about acoustics, we can just start off by saying wear headphones, honestly. But I can tell you that they've done a really good job at heat reflection. It's a little warm right here, and by a little warm, I mean it's lukewarm. It's not uncomfortable by any means. It's cool over here, cool to the touch. Again, a little bit of warmth right here on the WASD keys, but not uncomfortable by any means. I've had some gaming laptops that actually utilize the keyboard for ventilation, which is bad, obviously. So they've done a really good job here at redirecting the heat. Obviously, there's gonna have heat pipes and stuff in here. But heat rejection is really good on the areas that you touch. So here we are. Whoa. Okay, I have a Band-Aid on my finger, so I didn't feel that I was pushing the shoot button. That's called a negligent discharge. I accidentally fired the gun too. All right, so in terms of the options here, for video, we've got it set to, DLSS was off. What the heck, man? We want that on. Ray tracing is on high, RTX is on, obviously. So everything's looking pretty good here. Quality, we were on high. Let's go to extreme, just because I'm curious. Okay, so with everything maxed out, at least on the extreme, on the quality, 55 FPS, 54. It's not terrible, but obviously we don't want to play like that. So let's go back to a realistic setting. I think I'm gonna go back to high like I had it. DLSS is on, ray tracing is on high, so yeah, we're gonna go back to that. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with the Max-Q 2080 is the fact that it's not gonna be running the full speed like the desktop, plus it's also not equivalent spec for spec as the desktop variant. So you can see we're running at 1410 to 1455. I had to keep swapping filters because remember, this is a radioactive area. So I wanna see if we can overclock this slightly because we do have MSI Afterburner and we do have these sliders available. Oh, no. All right, so we're running at about 1530 now. You can see the CPU runs fairly warm though, mid to high 80s. But look at the GPU temperatures though. That's pretty impressive. Given the fact that, like I said, this is just over a 3/4 of an inch thick of a laptop. If you think about the actual space inside of it, these temperatures are pretty good. All right.
It's literally thinner than that keyboard.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, look at it, yeah. I mean, the core clock came down slightly. The temps are almost 70 on the GPU, but...
Oh, that's a lot. Holy crap. Eat this ray tracing.
I will fight them with RTX. It seems like 69 is probably... Oh, like there's 70.
I got like 70.
That's probably where the temperature control really starts to kick in. The CPU, on the other hand, it's like, just who cares? 90C, 92C in a game. That's crazy. I'm gonna try something here though. I'm gonna prop up the back of the laptop, like with the charger brick. I'm gonna see if it improves at all, because we only have a couple millimeters underneath for it to grab air, you know what I mean? Like, this makes me wonder, will a laptop stand improve temps at all? I mean, look, the GPU temps came down a couple. right? And because the GPU temps came down out of 70, that came up slightly. This seems to have improved a little bit because look. Okay, so allowing for more airflow makes better temperatures. Who would have thought? The jackal? Is it jackal? It's a jackal?
It's a jackal.
It's a jackal. It's a jackal. Da 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 da.
America.
All right, DX12 is enabled, DXR is enabled, DLSS is enabled, dynamic range is on auto. This is on an HDR monitor. Upscaling is on auto. Memory restriction is on. And then we are on max fidelity. All right, so now Battlefield 5, like I said, uses an entirely different RTX implementation. This is reflections, like as you can see right here in the water and stuff. But the reason why we're using Battlefield 5, like I said, is this is using a whole different way of using those RT cores. So instead of using it on global illumination, the way the light bounces and stuff, Battlefield 5 is using it for just the reflections. So it's a lot easier to run. That's why we're seeing a higher core clock. That's why we're seeing lower temperatures on both the CPU and the GPU and higher frame rates as a whole. And you can see right here, our GPU usage kind of goes between the 80s and the 90s, which makes me wonder if we might be seeing a little bit of a CPU bottleneck. That could also be power limit because it is max Q. It could also be temperature. There's a lot of different things it could be. But as you can see, this is extremely smooth and responsive. Rotterdam's a really good map to test with because of just all the shinies. Temperatures are also keeping the fans from having to ramp up to max speed, which means it's a little bit less intrusive, but gaming on a laptop is never going to be a quiet experience, so that's something you need to keep in mind. We are seeing very respectable frame rates here on a laptop with real-time ray tracing. Whether you call it a gimmick or not, you have to admit that this is pretty impressive that we are doing this in a thin form factor laptop. I get more FPS when I'm dead, the irony. Oh, I'm gonna spawn on Sneaky Monkey. Is that Nick?
Coconut Monkey's evil twin. Dude, that RTX PC.
It's stuck to me! Ah! Get off! I'm on fire now. Ah!
The last time you'll ever take the stairs.
Not on my watch.
Shout out to Mark.
Oh. Ah! Ah! Oh. He turned and I hit his front armor. As you can see with Battlefield 5, except for the fact that I suck on my own laptop, is yeah, obviously very, very playable. So if we go in and turn off though, let's just turn off the extra feet, like the RTX stuff. Because I mean, it's only a couple of games that you can truly take advantage of it on, right? So let's go ahead and turn DX12 off, which will turn off all that extra stuff, and let's compare, right? We were getting 80s and 70s on our FPS. Let's see what we get now. It's so obvious now how ugly the game is with ray tracing off. I have to say, although the FPS improved a little bit, the core clock certainly improved. We are seeing, it's not as pretty as you would expect. And I think for me, it's finally gotten to the point to where I'm starting to get spoiled by all the extra eye candy. Because once you turn it off, it just looks flat.
I mean, it looks better.
It looks brighter. The FPS is the same as it was with RTX on.
So that brings up a good question. Does DLSS at 1080p actually look fixed now?
It does look fixed now. But that wasn't even the point of today's video, but it's something worth mentioning. DLSS has improved enough now with all the data it's sort of collected in their own deep learning supercomputer to where it looks better with DLSS on than it does off. Although, but I can't really say that though because I have to see, you have to have RTX on as well to DLSS in Battlefield 5. But I can tell you this, with this setup, with max fidelity on Ultra with RTX off, in my opinion, looks worse than RTX on medium settings with DLSS at the same frame rate. So that's the thing. So that sort of prompted us to kind of sanity check here what it's like in Metro with RTX and stuff off. So once we turn this off, I'm curious as to what's gonna happen with our FPS. Okay, look at the FPS now. Doesn't really look that different.
Something is wrong with Battlefield.
So this is what gaming would be like, you know, in Metro Exodus with those features turned off, right? If you just want to play a standard game, very snappy, FPS in near the hundreds, and the core clock's still coming down, but the FPS is still great. So one thing we didn't talk about though was professional workflow or on-the-go editing. So basically we took a 14-minute, just about 14:30 was the video length in 4K, and we took the project file and we rendered it on our desktop rendering rig upstairs, which is a 9900K, and it has quick sync enabled. So we did the same thing on this. Now remember, this is an 8750H, which is a 6-core 12 thread versus an 8-core 16 thread on the desktop. This rendered the project in 14 minutes and 10 seconds. A 14-minute, 30-second 4K video rendered in 14 minutes, 10 seconds. So just under real time with this laptop. To put it into perspective, the overclocked 9900K upstairs, which is running about 5 gigahertz with twice as much memory, 32 gigabytes of memory, and a full-scale desktop 2080 Ti, did it in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So obviously that was about 30%, maybe 35%-ish faster, but this is a laptop versus a full-blown desktop, and this was able to render a 4K video in real time. And that was upscaling from 1080p, which is a little bit more of a difficult workflow, which means if we were dealing with 4K native resolution footage, then it would have been even faster. So obviously, professional workflow on this is also pretty damn impressive. So once again, a huge thank you to Origin PC for sending me the first 20 series RTX-based laptop that I've gotten a chance to get kind of hands-on with, other than being at a venue like CES where it's very locked down and we can't talk about things like temperatures and stuff because we can't see any of it. So obviously we got to get fully hands-on and immersive with this. So if you guys are interested in learning more about this particular machine or any other lineup of laptops and desktops that Origin PC offers, make sure to check the link down in the description below. And as always, what do you guys think about this? Tell us what you think down in the comments, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Hey, are you Jayztwocents?
No, I just like his stuff.